Hey kids, this is Ivan. How you doing? Well, I'm homesick. I've got a cold. I've had a cold for a few days. I'm taking cold medicine. I'm not going to make very much sense, I don't think. We'll see what happens. You know, that thing you get between the cold medicine and the feel in your head. I hate that. I hate that. But anyhow, I want to talk about the subject that your humble game master brought up. Lee was talking, I think it was actually typed it in Facebook or what have you. The idea is sometimes you're in the situation as a game master, it almost feels like you have to lead your players along, like they're not really aggressive. They're not going out and finding things out. They're kind of waiting for you to bring the stuff to them. And, that kind of conundrum. And we've all kind of, I think most of us have experienced that, as game masters, as players, that dynamic where you're kind of waiting for the game master to bring you the next piece of information. Or, if you're game master, you're kind of waiting for the players. You realize the players aren't going to come chasing stuff. You have to go throw it at them. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about part of what I do, and I don't think this is railroading. I don't think I'm like, showing the players where they need to go. I think it's just kind of naturally what would happen. And so if you're playing in either one of my Lamentations of the Flame Princess games, you might not want to watch this. Actually, my face-to-face one. I think the guys on the internet are fine. The face-to-face one, you might, well, I might, there might be a spoiler. Maybe they're not, Anyhow, these games I've been playing recently, I kind of let the players start off. Like, what do you want to do? And there are things that are happening in this particular area. I mean, they're both starting off in a town. I let them pick out what town you want to start out in. I know basically what's going on to a certain extent in the world. And, I'll be honest, I didn't stat out everything or didn't figure out everything that's going on in the world. I know we're playing Lamentations of the Flame Princess. I know the time period at 1620. I know it's this world with a few twists. I know that magic exists and that the weird exists. Okay? I don't need to have some big giant arcing mega plot thing going on. We'll see where they go, see what they become interested in, and the weird's going to be around anyhow. But in these two scenarios, these the groups of players show up, they start to do what they do, and I know in both of these sets of scenarios, what's going to happen is there's a few things they can encounter. There's probably one big thing that's going on that sooner or later they either are going to encounter or ignore. They're free to do either. Like in the game that I played, and we played the entire session from beginning to end, in terms of they killed the monster. There's this creature, and it's stealing heads, and so but it's very it takes a while for them to figure out what the hell is going on. They don't really figure out what's going on. They probably didn't ever figure out what was going on entirely, except we talked about it a little bit afterwards and laughed about it. But they kind of intersected like odd things that were happening. The same thing is going on in the face-to-face game I'm having. There's this completely different thing going on. But as these characters are milling about London, doing stuff, they're not milling about. They're working for their boss. They're going out and they're actually very aggressively interacting with people in the world. However, every once in a while they come across a dead body. Not that they stumble across the dead body, but they another dead body's been found. There's some kind of Jack the Ripper type murders going on, and they're not really sure. Nobody's really sure what the heck is going on. They're kind of happening in their neighborhood, that little area of London. So they're just going to intersect them. And I don't want to say I'm like dragging the worm past them like a fisherman, seeing if they'll take the bait. But every once in a while, they just encounter something to do with I hate to call them plot elements, but the odd things, the weird, that's in that area. And a few different things have happened. Some books have been stolen from somebody's house, some rather arcane books. They have found or they've realized that there's some kind of murders going on, etc. And some. I've actually talked to one guy that is kind of a rumor monger, and I got him to the rumor monger simply by the fact that they wanted, they independently decided they wanted somebody to forge a signature on a document. And they asked their boss, well, who do you know that's a forger? I don't know, but I know this guy knows just about everything. I got him to the rumor monger. I didn't have to lead them there, say, you need to go talk to this guy. Sooner or later, they did stuff that allowed me to have this intersection of paths. If they chose not to follow up, okay, fine. If they leave London in this face-to-face game and decide they want to go pursue something else, and they never find out who is killing these people Jack the Ripper style, that's fine. It doesn't matter. Sooner or later, somebody might or might not. those murders might go on for quite some time. What makes player characters different than non-player characters? Well, you could go with that whole idea that they're the ones that actually have the guts or are crazy enough to go look at it, try and figure out what's going on here. Everybody else just is smart enough to stay in their houses. You know. But that to me is part of how I kind of handle it. I mean, at the end of the day, you do need aggressive players. If you don't have aggressive players in your game, it's not fun. We were just having a discussion with a group of friends a little while ago, talking about like the presence of an audience member, those players that are less aggressive, that are less willing to kind of jump in and role play. And I have mixed feelings about this. And the only reason I have mixed feelings is every once in a while you've got that one friend, and it's like everybody's like, we're gonna let Bob play, right? And like everybody loves Bob, but Bob kind of sits there, rolls dice. He's there to roll dice, maybe kill a couple goblins or whatever it is, and have a good time. But he's not that real aggressive, person that just takes the game by the throat and plays their character to the hilt and all that kind of stuff. Every once in a while, you got a friend like Bob, and it's okay. But if you have to me, if there's more than one, if you have a table full of Bobs and no real aggressive players, it doesn't matter what you do. And I don't want to be in that situation where I'm constantly presenting the cool story, And there are groups that love that. There are game masters, that's their shtick. That's a whole different culture of play. It's just not mine. So anyhow, I'm gonna stop rambling because, like I said, I've got this cold, so I'm not sure if I'm making any darn sense whatsoever. What's your take on all this? What have you done? Is it that big of a deal? You tell me.